Friends, today we'll talk about acutes. Now, acutes are a very important aspect of all prescriptions. As we say, acute can make and break life of a homeopath. Now, to have success in clinic, what we need to do is you need to understand acutes very properly and give 100% result with single dose, single remedy in acutes. I know many of you might be feeling that how to achieve such a grand success or grand percentage of result in acute. But if you follow this theory properly of acutes, then success is possible. Now this theory is based upon Dr. Vichaykar's book Theory of Acutes, and we have modified it little bit to suit our needs. I'll explain you what exactly this theory means. Now before we proceed, we have to understand what are acutes. Now in clinics, many times what mistakes we do is any patient who is not registered with us and lands into our clinic, we call him as an acute, which is very wrong. See, example, a patient of cough and cold comes to you and he just walks into the clinic and say that I am having cold since 10 days. Is this an acute? Friends, you are doing a big mistake if you are considering this patient as an acute. I understand practically that you will consider this patient as an acute and try to give a temporary remedy to this patient, but this is not an acute. So then what are acutes? Now if you see acute disease are those diseases which disturbs the health of a person temporarily in a negative way. And the qualities of this disease are they are rapid in course, they are intense in pain and severity, they are short or moderate in duration and ends in recovery or death. Friends, understand this thing. There are 4 aspects for this definition of acute. First thing is that they are rapid in course. Now with rapid in course means that the speed of the disease is very fast. So how can a cold and cough considered as an acute? Second point is they are intense in pain and severity. They are short or moderate in duration, and the most important aspect is that they end in automatic recovery or death. This is very important condition to understand, to know what are acutes. So then friends, what are acute illnesses? So acute illnesses include high fevers, severe diarrheas, acute severe pains, neuralgia, colics, systemic affections due to injury, abscesses, septic focus, epidemics. I'll go into the details in another presentation about acutes and exactly how we manage acutes in the clinic, but this is just to make you orientation about acutes. So as I told you, this whole concept of acutes is based on the book Theory of Acutes, which is based on theory of Panchatattva. What is theory of Panchatattva? Panchatattva means that human body is made up of 5 elements: energy, air, fire, water and earth. And what Dr. Vichaykar has done is correlated these 5 elements with the 5 aspects, that is the activity, mind, thermals, thirst and physicals. The energy means related with activity, the air is related with mind, fire is related with thermals, water is related with thirst and earth is related with physicals. So since human body is made of these 5 elements to have a successful prescription in acutes, you need to consider these 5 elements and prescribe. Means your totality will include these 5 elements. Based on this theory of Panchatattva, Dr. Vijayakar has designed this flow chart of acutes, in which energy is represented as activity, thermals is represented as thermals, then we see thirst, the next aspect is thirst, then we take mentals, desires, elements from to final differentiation of a remedy. I'll explain you why activity, thermal, thirst, mind is important in acute. So what is theory of acutes? Theory of acute means life means change. So every human body, every living organism shows movement, shows change, and if it is not moving, then that means death. So movement or activity is very important. Action is a primary reflection of life, therefore action represents life. So whole theory of acutes is based on activity. The type of activity is decided by the speed and the type of actions, and what we need to do or we need to understand is note the change in the activity during an acute episodes, which suggests a change in the constitutive state which may be temporarily. So theory of acutes is based on activity. We have to assess in the patient whether activity is decreased, activity is increased, or there is no change in the activity. When we say activity is decreased, we have two aspects: activity decreased, sleep overpowering, or dullness. What is sleep overpowering? Sleep overpowering is a state of sleepiness in which the patient is very sleepy in front of you. The patient is so sleepy that when you ask him question, he answers, then goes back to the sleep again. And second differentiation is dullness. Dullness means that patient is not very sleepy, but he is very dull to move about, he is dull to lie down, he does not have energy, he has got weakness. Then next aspect is activity increase. What we mean by activity increase? Activity increase can be at 3 levels. First, activity at physical level, where we see physical restlessness of a patient. Then we have mental activity, where we see mental restlessness, that is crankiness or irritability in a patient. Or when we see activity verbal, means that the patient is so active that he sings or makes verses or is very loquacious. So first thing what we notice whenever you see an acute is notice whether what is the level of activity, whether activity is decreased or whether activity is increased. Once you understand the activity, take this into understanding, this into repetition. So note down the change in the activity. Then second aspect is note down what is the changed thermal state or what is the current thermals in the patient, what is the thirst. Repetize these 3 elements or follow this in the chart and you get an acute state. So in short, this is the acute chart. We see activity, whether it is decreased, increased or no change. If it is decreased, whether it is sleep overpowering or whether the patient is dull. Increase, whether the patient is increased at the level of mind, at the level of body or at the level of verbal. When we say activity is unchanged, this means that you have to prescribe the constitutional remedy. Once you come to a particular activity, say you come to dullness, then you see whether what is the thermals of the patient, add whether the patient is hot or chilly, then see thirst and thirstless. In next set of slides, we will see how we handle acutes, the difficulties and strategies in handling acutes.